Every first-time homebuyer wants to avoid the pitfalls and gain the secret advantages when they're looking to buy their first home. I've got a few nuggets here today that are going to help increase your confidence in what can be a pretty overwhelming process. Let's go.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
What is happening, my How to Buy a Homies? I'm your host, David Sidoni, and if you're new to the podcast, congratulations, you found your one-stop shop for all your first-time homebuyer needs. I know this can be, a little bit of a big deal. So that's why after 13 years in the business, I actually quit my broker and started this podcast way back in 2019 to get you all the answers you need. Education, empowerment, everything you need is right here. And if today's podcast doesn't answer one of your specific questions, check the show notes. Click on the episode guide. Everything's there. Pick a topic, you're going to find it. From beginner to advanced researcher. Today's show, it's going to be some random fun. I'm going to give you a few tips that most first-time homebuyers maybe haven't heard about. The stuff that, I've gathered after 20 years of coaching people through the process. This is a normal part of my life, 24/7, 365. So a lot of this stuff is brand new to you, but just the normal routine for me. Then after each tip, I'm going to give you a warning because protecting you isn't a small part of a unicorn realtor's job. It's their first job. The rest of it, that's extra. The first tip I'm going to give you, this one actually inspired today's show format because it's a tip that I'm sure I've mentioned in the show, but not enough. And I heard it again recently from Jason, who's a homie working with a unicorn realtor in Maine. Now, he wasn't getting the approval that he wanted. When you're crunching the number for your loan approval, it's based on your debt to income ratio, what we call your DTI. Now, those get explained more in the loan specific episodes, so check the episode guide in the show notes if you want some serious deep dives on that. But for this tip, I'll give you a brief explanation of how the DTI works. Banks take your gross pre-tax income for each month, and then they subtract your monthly payments of your debts and your bills. So they add those up and they turn that into a monthly payment out total. And then they turn it into a percentage of your gross income. Now, yes, I said the word monthly multiple times right there for emphasis. What you owe monthly is what matters. That $700 car payment that you pay, maybe you've only got $10,000 left on that, but $700 a month, that reduces your loan approval by $100,000. So yes, it is incredibly important to understand how each of your individual monthly payments affect your debt to income ratio, your DTI. Jason told me that with the help of his unicorn lender, they decided that they needed to get creative since his debt to income ratio was too high for the loan approval that he wanted. His best friend offered to pay off his car loan to allow him to qualify for the amount that he needed to purchase a home using a regular conventional loan and still getting the approval he wanted. So here's the tip. Friends or family can help you remove items from your official DTI numbers, those official monthly payments, and you can clear up space and get a higher loan approval. I love this one because I know not everybody has parents or friends that are just going to gift them money. I know a lot of people out there are getting the whole down payment for a gift, but what if you don't ask them for a gift? What if you're asking them for just a loan? This isn't a handout. And by paying them back instead of paying back an official entity on the books, your DTI improves. Right now, they're being sued for overcharging homebuyers using deceptive and illegal practices to inflate the costs to those homebuyers, as reported by several news outlets just in the last few weeks. Yeah, they've created the world's most bitchin' home viewing website, but they have to figure out how to make money. And their main source of revenue, how they actually get some profits, is by selling you. You're a lead to them, and they want to capture you and sell you to realtors and lenders. But here's the thing. They haven't made a profit since 2012. So they're constantly trying to find out ways to make some profits because they are beholden to their shareholders. Don't be fooled. Zillow's main thing is seeking profits for their shareholders. And the lawsuit states that Zillow has been tricking buyers and sellers to sign up for a Zillow agent because if that agent is in Zillow's Flex program, Zillow gets 40% of the commission And that payment is not disclosed to the home buyer. Now, if you've listened to other podcasts in the past, you may have heard me warn against taking Zillow's recommendations for choosing your real estate professionals. It's because everything there is pay for play. The professionals they recommend are not vetted for their expertise. They're not checked out to make sure they're great for first-time home buyers. All they do is pay Zillow to be recommended, and then they get the preferred tag for all the realtors and lenders you see on the site. And now buyers have discovered that not only is Zillow serving up these pay-for-play folks, but they're also steering you to people in their Flex program, the desperate agents who have agreed to pay Zillow a huge chunk of the fees that they're going to be collecting, and they give it over to Zillow for that extra little recommendation. So the warning is protect yourself as a buyer. You spend hours and hours scrolling through the photos of homes, and then you take just minutes to select your real estate professionals. Let's reverse that. Spend more time on selecting the professionals that you're going to hire. Make sure that they are experienced first-time homebuyer advocates with your best interest at heart. And if they are recommended to you, my recommendation is to research the source referring them to you. Is that source set up to educate and serve first-time homebuyers, or are they a corporation that puts profits over people? I'm just reporting the facts here. My opinion is that if you're a company that's getting sued for trying to trick the buyers, kind of a red flag for homebuyers. The next tip, in episode 389, I explained the last lease ever program. It's just a simple strategy to determine how close you are. What you do is you look at your numbers on your credit score, your debt, and your savings, the big three, and then to help buyers set a realistic strategy. When it comes to that saving number, the last lease ever program, it's set at 8%. Now, this is an overestimation, but here's how it works. We're doing 8% of the purchase price based on 5% to be used for the down payment and 3% for closing costs. Now, neither one of those numbers is set in stone. Like I said, it's an overestimate. Conservative numbers, because I want to make sure that if you're following a plan, that you can comfortably make the big commitment. And if you've got more than you need, you're going to be comfortable. There are absolutely even lower down payments than 5%. There's 3% conventional, 3.5% FHA, and veterans and military buyers qualify for zero down payment programs. And sometimes in some regions of the country, lenders are going to offer zero down payment options for civilians too. And then there's the number for the closing costs. I set that at 3%. Calculating the exact total is incredibly specific, and it's actually impossible to give you a general formula. Understanding the closing costs is very complex, and that's why I broke it down completely in episode 395. So here's the big tip. You might not need 8%. You may only need 4% or even 2%, maybe even less than that. So start your planning ASAP. Don't try to save to 8% on your own before you reach out to someone, because when you talk to a professional, they may have options lower, 7%, 5%, maybe even down to 3 or 2%. This tip, it's a big one. When people don't reach out early and find out what their options are, this costs hopeful first-time home buyers the most. Truly, waiting and not getting professional insights to know what's possible for buyers to buy, that's where first-time home buyers lose the most money. It's not what you think. It's not inspection red flags. It's not negotiation tactics. It's not overpaying on the interest rates for your mortgage. The real dream killer from 20 years of experience is waiting too long to discover that you have options. I have seen this time and time again. Because if people are working with someone dedicated to the planning, not just selling you a home as soon as possible so that they can get paid, not only do you find out the options, but what's the worst thing that could happen? You find out that maybe you don't have a lower option than 8%. So you just keep working the plan towards 8% with professional guidance until the timing is right for you. Maybe in your planning, you decide, you know what, we want to go to 10%, 12%, 15% total. But if you're just trying to save to 8% on your own, you could miss out on massive opportunities. Here on the podcast, we've got over 100 interviews with individual buyers all over the country, and every single one of them had a different saving and closing cost number. With the right guidance, many of them have stories that will seriously shock you. Some people were buying homes only paying 4% total in down payment and closing costs. And there are a few who paid 3%, 2%, and even a 1%. Imagine paying $4,000 total so that you can dump your rent and buy a $400,000 home. It's real and it happens with tactics like seller credits to the buyer, unique loan programs that can offer you crazy low down payments or credits back to you, using your 401k or retirement funds, or diversifying your saving style so that you can immediately have the funds you need to buy. And of course, city and county down payment assistance programs. And not just for lower income people, but for every type of buyer. They vary everywhere. And we've had a lot of people recently do what we call stacking the programs, using multiple different programs so they end up paying practically nothing to buy a home. And look, I'm not trying to sell this program and say, buy a home for nothing. I'm just saying the options are out there. That's why we set it at 8%, a conservative number for people, to realize that you can start with that, but potentially get in for a lot less. Recently in the podcast, I mentioned Nicholas. He was a homie hoping to buy. I just interviewed him the other day, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it, because Nick started with $1,500 saved and was looking to buy a $300,000 home. So he and his partner started the 8% savings plan, and so they were thinking they had to get to $24,000. Well, she was pregnant and then had a baby while they were saving, and then both their cars completely crapped out. I'm not going to spoil it for you because this interview comes out this Friday. It's episode 399. You will not believe how little they paid, how minuscule the dollar amount was that they needed to bring in to get the keys to their dream 4-bedroom home. Okay, next warning. Days on market. Now, the days on the market can get you a lot of insider information, but only if you know how to interpret it correctly. How long a home on the market? Of course, sometimes that can tell you a lot. I mean, if the average starter home in your area is selling in 2 weeks and you find a home that's been on the market for 2 months, some buyers get really stoked because they think they've got a desperate seller who's ready to make a deal. But the warning is, don't get immediately excited until you know why, if it's priced correctly within the correct valuation for homes in your area and it looks normal in the photos, what's going on? Perhaps something evil lurks beneath. Something demonic and expensive. Now, sure, you could still go and check the home out, but lower your expectations when you go in and then rely heavily on your realtor to look for the warning signs when you're at the showing. This days on market warning also has a hidden tip inside it, because sometimes longer than average market time can be due to simple poor marketing. If it's got really bad photos, or a lot of times it has limited availability to see the home. So perhaps it is a decent purchase, priced correctly, but it just hasn't been shown enough because either people ignore it because the pictures stink, or because they can't get an appointment to get inside. So if that home is priced correctly, it could be worth the extra effort to try to get in there and find out. Or the other one that we see a lot is it's overpriced. Now, if that's the case, here's a tip. Ask your realtor to see the home. Now, if you like it, if there's no red flags and no demons in the basement, there's one strategy that you can employ. Go back, prepare an offer, but prepare it at market value. Don't date it, don't sign it. Just you and your realtor prepare the whole thing and hold on to it. Depending on all the different variables, sometimes you might want to do that because rather than submitting at the correct market value early, maybe that's something you think might insult the seller when they're sitting there at that overpriced list price. But now you've got the offer ready. This way, when they finally succumb to the market feedback that they get and they lower the price to the correct value, all you have to do is sign and date that offer with all the information. You have the whole packet ready and you're the first one in. These are just a few. If you want more tips and warnings to help boost your confidence in this process, check the show notes for that episode guide. Look for a title, find the things you've been wondering about, and get yourself educated. And don't forget to check those interviews. And if you have a specific question, go to howtobuyahome.com and hit Ask David. Or if you're ready to stop waiting and want to start planning, you can go to the How to Buy a Home website and ask for a local trusted unicorn to interview. It's your future. So take control and find the best team for you and your goals. You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.